Hey, Sid with Table Talk with Sid, another life memo. I am going further with some more detail. I had some followers reach out regarding my podcast on personality traits, and they wanted me to discuss a little further the detail of each personality trait. So, this personality trait thing is something I've been doing for several years. It's quite interesting, actually. It's a learned skill. And how the topic came up was John, who I do my other podcast with, had asked about the validity of psychics and people like that. And I'm not going to say if I agree or disagree or if I believe or don't believe. What I do believe, which I said in my last podcast, is that whatever an individual needs to do to find peace, hope, happiness, to be happier as who they are right now so they can build into who they're meant to be, and to find kindness and more maybe generosity in their heart. So whatever that is, I am a huge supporter of it. So in my last podcast, we discussed personality traits and that there's controllers, promoters, analyzers, and supporters. Now, a lot of people know about the red personalities and the blue personalities, and so it's similar to that, but I've been using this skill for 20, literally almost 20 some odd years. And it is a technique that really does work. It helps you within business. It helps you within everyday life and communication, because when you can understand the personality traits of a person, their habits, what personalities do what, you have an easier time of communicating, putting people in the right job, and overall negotiating a little easier. So to start off, though many of you may have heard the details from the last podcast, I am going to still bring up several things for those who are new to this discussion. So the promoter, supporter, controller, and analyzer. The supporter, I really want to hit on this one. They are people who are heartfelt. They are people who are typically teachers, nurses. They are caretakers. They're very concerned about other people. They're the people in society who are highly needed in the area of nurturing and support and love. They can come across as weak, but I really want to clarify, they are not weak people. They are people that have a strength in an area that most of us don't. And their strength is in their love. It's in their patience and their understanding and their heartfelt ways. Now, there are individuals that are out of control supporters. Those are people who have a tendency to want to avoid. They have a tendency to say to you or tell you whatever it is they know you want to hear, but they have no intention in following through because they really just want you off their back. They are people that don't want conflict, that they have a tendency to run and hide if conflict is going to appear. And they have a tendency to, at times, to appear to be liars, when in reality they're not lying. They're just not telling you the full truth, because the full truth is what they know down deep inside they can't comply with. Maybe they don't believe in. Maybe they don't have an interest in it. So the supporters are a highly needed group of people in order for society to continue to bloom, for it to continue to find strength, because often strength is found in patience, in love, in nurturing. In that downfall, that out of control supporter, they at times will have a tendency to enable, however, because they don't like seeing people hurt. So with a supporter, you cannot push or force your way with them. If you use the words such as, how do you feel about that? Is there something you would like to discuss so that we can come to an understanding. The things based around emotion and feeling, if you'll use those words, you will get a more balanced return from them. Also, if you give them a moment to really process and think about what they feel they want, then you're going to get a more realistic outcome from them. Now, moving on to an analyzer. An analyzer is someone who is typically a scientist, a CPA, a doctor, an attorney. They are people who are thought-provoked. They like data. They like gathering information. They want the details. You absolutely cannot push an analyzer to make decisions quickly. If you push them, they will shut down on you and they simply will not perform. They are people who get the details, but they get the details out of love. They're the ones to make sure you're not going down the toilet because of a choice or a decision you made, because they're going to look at every entrance and every exit of every situation. They are people that you definitely need them. You need them on your side because there are some things you cannot afford to just jump haphazardly with. Now, with an out-of-control analyzer, they are people that will have a tendency to gather data too long, for too many years. Once again, I said in my last podcast that I have a girlfriend, 17 years she's been discussing moving her studio. It's because she gets so caught up emotionally about getting information from everyone. Because what if this happens, but what if that happens? What if that happens, but then what again if this happens? She's constantly reaching for more information. So that literally will paralyze her often from really getting much progress out of life. Analyzers have a tendency to be at times a little more negative. They appear to be more negative because they're so busy looking at the good, the hiccup, and the bad. But it's part of their beauty. So with an analyzer, knowing where they belong, you put them in a position where you need quick decisions made, or you need someone to sell someone on something, or you need someone to be outgoing. That's not where you go put an analyzer. That's not where their strengths are. Moving on to a promoter. Now, a promoter is this person who can sell anything to anyone. They are typically car salesmen. They are real estate people. They are people who are in PR. They are people who are in the position to keep people happy, to event coordinate, to make sure that everybody on board is enjoying their time. Now, that promoter has a tendency at times to be someone who can, not out of malice, but can speak out of line. They are a person who can be someone who doesn't think before they speak, and so the things they say have a tendency to be a bit abrasive. They are people that are up for the fun, going to Europe tomorrow, not taking into consideration that they have responsibilities. They are the person, if you need to sell something, you need to pitch something to someone, they are the people that you want to pitch for you. Now, the out-of-control promoter is that person who has a tendency to not take into consideration all the details. They are a big picture person. They're about the excitement of whatever's going on. They are the life of the party. The out-of-control promoter has a tendency to be challenged in follow-through with fulfilling whatever agreements they have. But again, you want something done quickly. You want something done or people sold on something with excitement. you go to a promoter. So the last one is a controller. A controller is typically someone who's in charge. They are surgeons. They are business owners. They are big picture people. They are people that are by nature leaders. They are people that you don't have to micromanage. You don't have to tell them how to get something done. They are people that love the pressure, love the high, love the push of keeping a team together, keeping a project together, and finding a way to solve situations. Now, an out-of-control controller is someone who can be very manipulative. They can be very dominant. They can push people through pressure and fear to get them to do things simply because a controller knows that they're in charge. A controller is someone you don't go put in with a group of people and ask he or she to follow, because a controller by nature can't typically follow. So if you have to go put them in with a group of people, you want to find where you can put them where they can still lead. Now, micromanaging a controller isn't going to be a good idea. The best thing you can do is give the details, what you need, when are the deadlines, what needs to happen, and then let them go at it. Now, again, an out-of-control controller is someone who can be extremely difficult. They're very set in their ways. They're very opinionated. They're very outspoken. But that in-control controller can truly lead for you. They can get things done. They can be extremely successful. So in knowing these personality traits, this helps you to know where to put people in business, how to deal with each personality as you must deal with them, whether in private, in professional, however that may be. By knowing the fact that if I were to say to a controller, how are you doing today? And come at them with a little more of a soft approach, the downfall is going to be this. They see you as weak. They're going to eat you up alive. When you deal with a controller, going directly at them, John, I appreciate that what you're doing. You're doing an outstanding job in this area. I need this deadline hit. I need you to correct this over here. And I really think that what you've done here is exactly on point. Thank you very much. I will expect to see these details on my desk by this date. By letting them know what you appreciate them doing, letting them know that you see and respect their talent, and letting them know the detail of what you need done, and then letting them go, you're going to get the most success out of them. Now, with a supporter, if you approach a supporter the same way, too direct or too upfront, they like to hear words of, how do you feel? How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts about that? Take some time to ponder that and get back to me. When you deal with a supporter, approaching them with more of a softer voice, more concern about their true feelings, more interested on how they feel opposed to the task at hand, you're going to get a better return from them. Now, you deal with an analyzer by saying, Susie, I love that you're very detail-oriented. I love that you're gathering data. This is the data I need. This is what I need it on. This is how much time I'm going to give you to do that. Give them detail for detail what you need. Very direct, not painting it pink, not fluffing up their feathers. Very to the point, what it is you need, why you need it, when you need it, how you need it, and then step away and let them do that for you. By being direct and to the point with an analyzer, you're going to get a better return. And with the more information you offer an analyzer, the better return you're going to get. Now with that promoter, a promoter, you can just be brutally upfront. Now, often a promoter only hears what a promoter wants to hear. So if you're too soft with a promoter, they see that as, oh, well, they must not really know what they want, so I'm going to take charge. Or you're too soft with the promoter. Oh, maybe they really don't know what they want because they're a little weak. So a promoter, you can be brutally upfront. In fact, they perform better that way. You say things the way they are, not in a pink fashion, but exactly how they are. You must be extremely direct on the pluses that they're going to receive and the consequences they will face if for example, if you do not get the deadline or the project or whatever. That promoter is extremely connected to excitement, to the thrill of it, to getting something to happen that most people can't get to happen. So you have to be really upfront with them. However, with a promoter, you have to remember to check in here and there with them. How are you doing? What have you accomplished? Because a promoter has a tendency at times to get a little crooked. They go a little sideways. They get a little lost in their focus. So knowing these personality traits can truly help you to use words that are going to work better for each personality. If you know the words to use, they're going to communicate with you better. If you know the correct words that they really tick with, you're going to get better dialogue, better communication, and a more sound outcome. By knowing this also, you can know where to place them in business. You can know where they're going to thrive. You even know with your children by their personalities how to handle them on a day-to-day basis, how to communicate with them when it comes to school and to their part within the family. Learning these skills literally will empower your life. Also, by learning the behaviors of each personality, you know, without even speaking to anyone, like for example, majority of the time, I can walk into a room and I can tell you personalities and their behaviors and their habits before I even speak to them. Now, you give me one sentence or someone to give me one word, I typically can hit the nail on the head on who I'm talking to. By knowing that, I immediately know what I need to do to work with them. Maybe if I'm dealing with an analyzer, I know I better not come off giving all these grandeur and great and big ideas with no detail behind it, no data to support what I want to do, because they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Now, I come at a promoter and I start giving too much information, too much detail. They want to know the excitement of it. They want to know how great it's going to be. They want to know how big and what the big plus is on the other side. Because if you give a promoter too much detail, they just shut down. They get bored with the discussion. But if a supporter comes along, I can talk to them about their value, why they're valuable in this project, how their value really increases our productivity, our ability to have happy employees or a happy team, and how their concern for people will help increase the overall balance, emotional balance of the team. Then, when you're talking to that controller, you also are aware of the positions you need to find for that controller, that you don't want to go dog them and put them in a following position where they need to follow, because that's where havoc is created. You put a controller in a position to follow a personality, let's just say such as a supporter who typically by nature wants to follow, not because they're weak, but because That's where they really bloom, when they can let someone take on the pressure of leading so that they can nurture all of those without having to really think of the detail. You go put a controller behind a supporter in charge, you will have chaos like no other. So take this discussion and really sit with these personality traits, because it's very empowering. These personality traits and the knowledge of it is much of how, well, you can say a psychic or somebody would have more knowledge. Once again, some may be absolutely very capable, some may not, but as a whole, you get control and an understanding of personality traits. You don't need to be a psychic anymore, because you can tell who you're dealing with, their habits, their downfalls, their hiccups, the things and ways that they behave, and their hopes and dreams for the most part, without ever speaking a word to them. All right, in your day, you will fall down. Stand up, brush off, and move on. Talk to you.